topic of philosophy. Can you tell me a little bit about the coaches you hired and their philosophies?
Well, I've only hired one coach right now. He'll be coaching our football, wrestling, and our baseball team. The reason I brought him in because he brings a philosophy to the table that a lot of our teachers and advisors here at the school don't bring, and that's the human capital theory. He feels it's significant for the individual and societal economic benefits that derive from the investments that they put on the field, that these student athletes show. He also feels that education develops skills to lead and increase productivity. So what they learn on the baseball field, on the football field, leadership, teamwork, they can bring into businesses, and also the aspect of competition as well. Athletes act rationally to maximize their potential. So in return, they act rationally to maximize their economic utility after high school, after they leave here, going to college, getting into those better colleges and stuff like that. And then also, we go off of the theory of justice by Jeremy Bentham of maximization of an individual. He's going to push his student athletes to the limit, push them so they know that, they don't have to stop at a certain point, that they can keep on going, keep on striving, get success, and then take that into their years after they leave the newly formed Denver High School.
So why does he feel this theory is effective?
He's a teacher as a manager. He guides the students as they go. He's a guide, but they produce, they do the producing. They're the athletes, they're what performs on the field. He also finds tension between the individual development and reproduction of his team. So he puts the right people in the right places. He's also continuously discovering the new linkages between solutions and needs, and that performs for the students rapid and informed learning. He's not always, like in society, not everyone's good at computers. Not everyone's going to be a teacher. Not everyone's good at interviews. So, that's the same as that they're going to learn on the football field. Not everyone's a wide receiver. They might have to go play O-line. They might not have the skills, the hands, speed to produce. So that's what he does. He also is a big thing on leadership, and that's where he thinks that the value is created, not positional. So he wants to form leadership, have them discover the skills that they can take outside into this new world that they do after high school.
So Andreya, what motivates you? What inspires you? What makes you so passionate about liberal education?
What makes me passionate about liberal education? I myself have some liberal educators in my background and my experience growing up in school. I used to love going to school because I had those liberal educators. The liberal educator makes you think outside of the box. It makes you think outside of just what I was learning in my language arts class, or in my social studies class, or in my science class, or my math class. Those liberal educators really were the inspirational teachers. You see those movies where the teacher is this, paragon figure, and she's always, thinking of things beyond just what the students have normally done, and the students really tend to make that connection with the student. And I feel like with liberal education, it causes teachers to build that rapport and build that connection with students, because they're pushing students beyond just their comfort level and beyond just what they want to do. And once students are working at a level beyond what they expected, they always go back and thank the teacher, because they were the reason, the teacher was the reason why they were able to do those things beyond their own expectations. So I feel like liberal education, it's the moving force that allows students to think and to go beyond what they just think they're able to do, outside of just, like I said, the box, outside of just what they're learning in those content classes. I do feel like with liberal education, though, that it also develops leadership. With liberal educators, we're constantly pushing, students to think more than just what they've learned. And so with liberal education, it causes students to ask questions and to inquire about things, and it really gives them a boldness. Sometimes students are afraid to ask questions, but a liberal educator is positively encouraging students to have that continuous learning, learning while still learning, never ending with learning. So when you're continuously learning and you're continuously sharpening your skills, that develops leadership in you. It makes you kind of set apart from other people, because you don't just think, well, now that I have this degree, or now that I have this degree, I can no longer learn anymore, but you're constantly wanting to learn. So I think that developed a lot of leadership in myself. I think that's kind of what made me who I am, or at least it had a great impact on the reason I am where I am. Not afraid to ask questions, not afraid to find out answers, not afraid to accept no for an answer, or not afraid to not have an answer sometimes. That develops, I guess, the keys that are pretty fundamental in developing my character and developing the person and leader that I've become. With this area and with this with the school that we do have, a lot of people are very negative, and they feel like, with this liberal education, all they're doing is just giving students, free time and blah, blah, blah. And it's not free time, it's just really allowing students to think beyond just what they're learning in school. A lot of times we kill imagination. Parents at home kill imagination, when imagination is really the tool that's going to allow students to think beyond what's normally and what is being done right now. If it weren't for someone's imagination, we wouldn't have the internet. If it weren't for someone's imagination, we wouldn't have renewable energy, or we wouldn't have, echoes and different things that we do have. So it's the imagination that pushes students, and it's that liberal educator that pushes the imagination of the students. With myself, imagination, I never thought that I would be the person that I am had it not been a liberal educator that was pushing me and saying that I can and I will achieve. And so it caused me to have a lot more confidence in myself, and it caused me to have a lot more stability and to be strong in the person that I am. Actually, to be a black female, to be the minority, it's very hard to be in this position. So I have to be confident, and I have to be pretty upfront and pretty bold and not afraid to be who I am. So those liberal educators, like I said, were inspirational. They developed a lot of leadership. They developed the character that I am. They continue to promote, growth and promote learning. And they're the reasons why I continue to go to practices and to go to, different developmental institutions and try to learn what I can through research and try to read up on things. The reason why I'm sitting down and having a conversation with you. I can learn from what you're telling me, and I can learn from having a conversation. So I'm always open to learning. I do feel like with liberal education, it's what I love, and it's what inspired me to be who I am. So that's where my passion comes from.
As a student, it's so reassuring to hear how passionate you really are about liberal education, and how liberal education really provides the best for the students. And it encourages us to just be beyond that curious learner during class, but to be inquisitive and to develop leadership skills will help us be professionals and leaders of tomorrow. So as a student, it's really reassuring to hear you say that. Thank you.
Thank you. For more insight on liberal education, we do have some bits and pieces from Coach Chevalier and Coach Abercrombie
At Denver High School.
I think one of the most important things is the entree. What I bring to coaching for track and field is not just a single entree, but is a whole smattering of offerings.
Right. Yeah, and it's not enough to offer just a smorgasbord of courses. We also must ensure that the students are not just eating at one end of the table.
Working with the kids with track and field, I've leaned a lot on some of the teachings from Bartlett Guy.
Yeah, Bartlett Guy, he's the one known as saying a liberal education is at the heart of a civil society, and at the heart of a liberal education is the act of teaching.
Track and field coach at a religious school allows for a lot of traditional relationships with the religious teaching, but we have gone off of that into more authoritarian type of teaching.
Right, because here at Denver High School, we are a public school, so you want to be able to go to the Catholic and to that traditional kind of teaching. We are a multicultural society, so we do have to reach out to a lot of different individuals. In a multicultural society, religious instruction, however authoritarian, comes into question by virtue of the fact that other traditions exist in the proximity. Isn't it more important that historical facts such as the necessity of targeting civilians in bombing raids during World War II are questioned in school, rather than the existence or non-existence of God? Perhaps Strauss was right when he said religion provides the most convenient smokescreen to preserve powerful structures.
Absolutely. I think what's most important when you're looking at track and field is that it becomes a cultural enrichment. It's not just a portion of the education, it becomes something above and beyond.
Right, yeah, the ideal of liberal education as perfecting man's rationality, once the cornerstone of higher learning, has been all but lost in our own time. The view of a liberal education begins in wonder and aims at wisdom. That is, a knowledge of order which human reason does not create, but can discover and understand. Has by and large has been replaced by the notion that such an education aims at a kind of cultural enrichment, so that the primary focus of studies becomes the work and the inventions of man rather than a larger order of which he is a part of.
That you looked for in your applicants to become teachers at your new school?
Well, definitely your teachers, or my teachers, my staff, they need to have a passion for learning. I hope that you, the audience, or you, the viewers, you yourself, Matt Rubin, can see that I'm very passionate in what I do. I love children, I love educating, I love being in the classroom, and I love working with people. So the first thing that I look for is a genuine sense, a genuine spirit from all of my staff. I want them to care and I want them to be a part of the classroom. I want them to want to come in and teach the students. You know, the students are the first ones to tell that if their teacher doesn't want to be there, then they're not going to want to be there. So I do look for that genuine sense of self within the teacher. I look for that passion in the teacher, and it's pretty evident to tell whether they're passionate or not. You can't really fake that. I also look for the credentials of the candidate, of the applicant. I want the students to be knowledgeable. I want the teachers to be knowledgeable in that area. I want them to, have a master's degree, which all of our teachers, I'm very proud to say, do have master's degrees in their certain field. I want them to be very knowledgeable in their content. That way, if students have questions, they're easily able to answer those questions. For some of our theorists, they do believe that, there's not always a right question or there's not always a right answer to a question, but kind of leaving that open-ended question and kind of giving students the ability to think beyond just yes or no. So I do believe that in our theorists, but I also want our teachers to be educated so that they can have that knowledge base, so that they can answer those questions that our students have out of being inquisitive. Another thing I want our teachers to be is, kind of goal-oriented. I want them to set goals for their classroom. I want them to be on board with the goals that I've set for the school and for the district. And I want them to kind of be positive. I don't want a lot of negativity. I don't need that right now. Obviously, we have a lot of, negativity right now in our district with the closing of 2 schools and trying to bring them all together. So I want them to have a positive attitude and a winning attitude, as I used to say at my school, Toledo.
That's fantastic. There's nothing better than a winning attitude.
Nothing better than a winning attitude.
Now, you mentioned you want your teachers to have goals. What are your personal goals, hopes, dreams? What's your ideal achievement for this new university?
The new school, my goals, I have set some long-term goals. I've set some short-term goals. Short-term goals, I want to know all of my students by at least name and face. I want to build that rapport with my students. One-on-one, if I don't try to get a conference in, at least go to their classrooms and talk to them so that they can know that I'm a real person. I'm easily accessible. If you have a problem, don't feel afraid to contact me. So that was one of my short-term goals. I wanted to build that relationship with not just students, but with parents. I feel like if you have that relationship with the students and with the parents, it makes the community a lot stronger. It builds that sense of school and home within and of itself. So I do feel like that's important. Another one of my short-term goals is to obviously bring in a lot more students than what is expected. I want some of the students that are coming from the 2 schools that were closed to obviously be there, but for students that are thinking about wanting to come to this new school, I do want to build a better population, a higher population within our school. So trying to give money or award money to students that come from outside, maybe outside of districts or maybe within the same district. I do want to try to build up the numbers for our school. We do have OGT testing for our 10th graders this year. I want our OGT tests to be higher than what they were at both of the 2 schools last year. Very poor. Our school is under academic emergency. So obviously that's one of my first goals is to improve those scores, to really get the community to be, thinking in a positive light about our school and really giving us an optimistic view. I'm a very optimistic person. I look at the glass half full rather than half empty. So, my goals are really to change the dynamic of the community and to change the outlook that people have on the school. I don't want it to be seen as a negative, but as a positive. So bringing more people in, meeting these people, these parents, the students, those are some of the goals that I do have, long-term and short-term.
Well, that is absolutely fantastic. Dr. Williams, thank you so much for joining us today on Andreya. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. You'll be hearing from us soon.
I am Toledo. This is Matt Rubin. Stay classy.